You ever feel like life is way harder than it should be? Like, no matter how much effort you throw at something, things still feel heavy, complicated, exhausting? It's not always about working harder. Sometimes it's about the one thing you're doing without even realizing it. Something that quietly sabotages your energy, your peace, and your ability to actually move forward. Most people are carrying the weight of trying to control everything. They're micromanaging outcomes, obsessing over timing, replaying conversations in their head, and bracing for worst-case scenarios before they even happen. It's like their brain's constantly on defense, ready for something to go wrong. And the worst part? They think this is being responsible. They think this stress is necessary, that if they don't worry, everything will fall apart. But here's the truth. The more you try to force things to go a certain way, the more resistance you create. Life becomes a battle, not because it has to be, but because you're clenching too hard. You're trying to grip the future instead of flowing with it. And that tight grip, it leaks your energy, blinds you to new opportunities, and drains all the joy out of the process. The irony? The moment you stop doing this constant pressure to control, fix, predict, you free up so much mental space that solutions actually start showing up. You stop chasing and start choosing. You stop reacting and start responding. Life becomes less about surviving and more about creating. And it's not about becoming careless or lazy. It's about shifting your mindset from control to clarity, from force to alignment. And that's when everything starts getting easier. Not because life suddenly changes, but because you did. Most people don't realize how exhausting it is to live in constant resistance. You want things to change, but at the same time, you're gripping so tightly to how you think it's supposed to go that you block the very shift you're asking for. You get stuck in this loop, frustration builds, nothing moves, and now you're doubling down on control because you think you need to try harder. But trying harder doesn't always mean moving forward. It often means you're digging deeper into the same old hole. Let's break something open here. The universe doesn't respond to stress, tension, or control. It responds to clarity, intention, and space. But space doesn't come when you're filling your mind with scenarios, backup plans, and imaginary disasters. Space comes when you stop doing the one thing that almost everyone does without realizing it, constantly bracing. Bracing for rejection, bracing for delays, bracing for disappointment, like life's about to throw a punch and you better be ready. And that's the mindset that quietly kills momentum. You want things to feel easier? Stop bracing, start breathing. Instead of walking into a room wondering if they'll like you, walk in grounded in who you are. Instead of overthinking how to say something perfectly, say it with honesty and presence. Instead of mapping out every step before you take action, take one clean, simple move with full focus, and trust yourself enough to adjust along the way. You'll notice that when you stop dragging the weight of fear into every moment, your energy shifts. People respond differently. Ideas come easier. Timing lines up, and you realize it was never about the outside world being hard. It was about the pressure you were applying inside your own mind. And this isn't some spiritual fluff. This is practical. This is mental stamina. When your nervous system isn't stuck in survival mode, your creativity unlocks. Your clarity sharpens. And suddenly, things that used to feel impossible start flowing with less friction because you've stopped being the obstacle. There's a quiet strength in simply letting life move without your hands constantly gripping the wheel. But society wires us differently, doesn't it? We're taught that relentless effort, constant vigilance, and endless stress somehow equate to value. That the more exhausted we feel, the more successful we must be. But let's get brutally honest here. How's that been working for you? We glorify hustle so much that it almost feels taboo to say life can and should feel easier. Yet, here's the irony. When you stop overanalyzing every move, something fascinating happens. You become incredibly effective because your energy isn't wasted. It's channeled. Instead of scattering your attention in 10 different directions, you're clear, precise, intentional. Instead of chasing opportunities out of anxiety, you become a magnet that attracts opportunities effortlessly. Here's something no one openly tells you. Desperation repels. Confidence attracts. The less you chase something from a place of fear or anxiety, the more it naturally gravitates toward you. Think about your interactions. Think about your relationships. When you text someone constantly, anxiously awaiting their reply, what happens? You push them away. But when you send a clear, genuine message and let go of expectation, that's usually when the conversation flows naturally. Apply this principle everywhere, in business, relationships, personal goals. Stop exhausting yourself by relentlessly pushing against closed doors. Step back, take a breath, and let clarity emerge from calmness. It feels unnatural at first because you've been conditioned to think that struggle means progress, but the reality is simpler and far more liberating. Ever noticed how top performers in almost any field seem calm under pressure? They're not calmer because they're successful. They're successful because they learned to stay calm. They figured out that emotional regulation, clear thinking, and strategic action outperform anxiety-driven effort every time. When you're tense, your perception narrows. When you relax, you see more possibilities. The game slows down, and suddenly, you're playing at a higher level than everyone around you who's frantically scrambling. Here's a challenge. For the next week, pay attention to your reactions. Notice every moment you're tempted to tense up and control outcomes. Instead, consciously choose calm. Release your grip just slightly. Remind yourself that you have the capability to adapt. Trust that clarity emerges naturally from a relaxed mind. You'll begin to see firsthand how quickly your external world mirrors your inner calmness. Because the truth is, life itself isn't complicated. It's our mental games, our stress, and our worries that complicate everything. And once you genuinely internalize that realization, everything changes. Not because the world shifted, but because you finally stopped blocking your own path. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how often the best solutions pop into your mind when you're not actively searching for them? In the shower, during a walk, or right before falling asleep, moments of calm and quiet are precisely when your subconscious gets to work, effortlessly piecing together the puzzle. This isn't coincidence. It's psychology. Our brains have two distinct ways of operating: focus mode and diffuse mode. Focus mode is what most of us use daily. It's analytical, deliberate, and effortful. But diffuse mode is something else entirely. It's the relaxed, creative, intuitive space where breakthroughs occur. And here's the kicker. Your mind can only enter diffuse mode when you're not anxiously pushing for answers. By constantly worrying and trying to control every little outcome, you're essentially locking yourself out of your most innovative and creative mental state. Take a cue from some of history's greatest minds. Albert Einstein famously developed key insights while sailing and playing the violin, activities that allowed him to relax and let his subconscious take the lead. Steve Jobs would regularly take long walks to clear his mind and reconnect with clarity, coming back with visionary ideas that shaped modern technology. They both understood intuitively that constant effort and strain were never going to produce their best results. Now think about your own experiences. Reflect on the most insightful moments you've ever had. Were they moments of stress and tension? Or were they moments when your mind was quietly drifting, relaxed, open, and clear? So, here's an honest question. Why do we still insist on pressuring ourselves constantly, if our greatest insights come when we let go? Maybe it's fear of falling behind, fear of not being enough. But here's the truth we rarely talk about. Life isn't a race. Your worth isn't determined by how exhausted you are at the end of each day. True effectiveness and genuine happiness comes from being aligned, balanced, and present. It emerges naturally when you drop the illusion that you have to control every outcome. Start approaching your life as an explorer rather than a controller. Allow yourself room to breathe. Rather than trying to forcibly shape reality, get curious. Pay close attention. Notice what's already working and build from there. Shift from forcing to flowing, from controlling to allowing. You'll notice things begin to unfold more naturally and harmoniously. Imagine how powerful you become if every problem or challenge didn't immediately send you spiraling into anxiety. Imagine how much clearer your decision-making would be if you gave yourself permission to let go. You wouldn't become lazy or passive. You'd become smarter, sharper, and more intuitive. You become someone who calmly navigates uncertainty, rather than someone paralyzed by stress. This isn't just theory. It's practical advice you can apply immediately. Test it for yourself. The next time you feel pressure rising, pause, breathe. Step away briefly if you must. Allow your mind to wander and watch how your clarity returns stronger than ever. Here's something most of us overlook. Your brain treats mental clutter exactly like physical clutter. Imagine walking into a room piled high with stuff everywhere. Papers stacked on chairs, clothes tossed on the floor, dishes scattered about. You immediately feel overwhelmed, right? Now translate that scene into your mind. Every worry, every fear, every unnecessary thought you're holding onto creates that same overwhelming clutter in your mental space. The human mind, powerful as it is, thrives on simplicity. It craves clarity. But how often do you allow it the luxury of simplicity? Most of us spend our days buried under layers of thoughts about what we could have done differently yesterday, what we should have said during an argument, or how tomorrow might turn out. Each one of these thoughts drains precious mental energy and blocks you from clearly seeing what's right in front of you. Think of your mental space as prime real estate. Would you fill $1 million property with piles of useless junk? Of course not. Yet, many of us do precisely this with our minds every single day, cluttering them with regret, worry, and endless what-ifs. When you clear this mental clutter, life instantly becomes easier because decisions become obvious, actions become straightforward, and you finally start moving effortlessly toward your goals. Let's talk about decision fatigue for a moment, the silent thief of productivity and happiness. Decision fatigue occurs when your mind becomes exhausted from making too many unnecessary decisions or worrying too much. Ever wonder why successful people like Mark Zuckerberg or Barack Obama famously limited their clothing choices each morning? They knew that even tiny decisions, like picking clothes, use up valuable mental resources. By limiting trivial decisions, they freed mental space for the truly important ones. Apply this to your life. How many small, meaningless decisions are you stressing over each day? What would happen if you eliminated even half of those choices? Imagine waking up and already knowing what you're wearing, what you're eating, how you're starting your day. Without the mental tug of war, you'd have significantly more mental energy left for creativity, problem solving, and simply enjoying your day. But mental clutter doesn't stop at decision fatigue. It extends deeply into emotional burdens as well. Consider grudges, resentments, or lingering frustrations. Each one takes energy away from your present moment. Imagine holding a heavy glass of water for 5 minutes. Not a problem, right? Now imagine holding that same glass for 5 hours. Your arm would ache, you'd feel exhausted, drained. That glass represents every unresolved issue you're clinging to. The longer you hold onto resentment or frustration, the heavier it becomes. What if you simply put the glass down? What if, right now, you chose to let go of that grudge or that regret that's been weighing you down? You'd instantly feel lighter, clearer, and more focused. Letting go isn't about forgiving everyone or forgetting everything. It's about valuing your own mental peace more than holding on to negativity. Consider for a second how much of your day is wasted replaying past events or worrying about future uncertainties. Both the past and the future are outside your control, yet they dominate your thoughts. Every minute spent dwelling on things you can't change is a minute you aren't spending fully engaged in your present, the only moment you actually have any power over. Here's something practical you can implement immediately. Whenever you feel your mind drifting into past regrets or future anxieties, simply pause and ground yourself back into the present moment. Ask yourself, what action can I take right now? Or, what's actually important in this very moment? This simple shift recalibrates your mind, pulls you out of anxious spirals, and directs your energy toward meaningful action instead. By cultivating this practice, you're not just reducing stress, you're training your mind to become naturally resilient. You'll start to notice a significant increase in your ability to handle situations calmly, thoughtfully, and effectively. Because here's the reality most people miss. The easier you make your mental environment, the easier your entire life becomes. Opportunities you couldn't see before suddenly appear vividly clear. Relationships that seem complicated become more manageable. Goals that felt unreachable start feeling achievable, one calm step at a time. At the end of the day, making your life easier isn't about finding some magical shortcut. It's about intentionally letting go of everything that drains you unnecessarily. It's realizing that happiness doesn't come from controlling every outcome, but from responding calmly and clearly to whatever life presents. Imagine waking up each morning and feeling genuinely excited about your day. Not because everything will go perfectly, but because you trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way without panic or unnecessary stress. Think about how much more joy, clarity, and purpose you'd feel if your energy wasn't constantly scattered by anxiety or worry. You've spent enough time struggling against yourself, trying to force outcomes and control situations. It's exhausting, and the truth is, you don't have to live that way anymore. Life gets dramatically simpler when you stop fighting battles you never needed to engage in. Right now, you have the power to choose ease, clarity, and calm. Decide to focus your attention only on what truly matters. Let go of mental clutter and protect your energy fiercely. The result? You won't just feel better, you'll become unstoppable. If this resonated deeply, drop a comment below and tell me, what's one specific thing you're committed to stop doing, starting today, to instantly simplify your life? And if this video brought you clarity, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means everything, and it helps us grow together. I'll catch you in the next one.